what we are talking about, the day in the life of a Right Networks firm. So
we sure are.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing. We're going to dive in. And Heather, you want to introduce yourself?
I certainly will. I'm Heather Satterlee. I have a firm in Portsmouth, Rhode Island, and I mostly work with small businesses and accountants that are looking to streamline their back office operations through the use of technology, specifically surrounding QuickBooks Online, which is what I specialize in.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. And I'm Liz Scott, and so I have a firm in Oklahoma, County Lifeline, and we specialize in QuickBooks Online and the ecosystem surrounding it. So my favorite thing to do is to dig in, look at the processes, and then start streamlining it, adding integrations. And I work with a lot of e-commerce businesses because it gives me the opportunity to add in those integrations. So super fun stuff. I love what I do. And we have our Right Networks champagne level sponsor. And so we're very, very excited to be able to do this 3-part deep dive into Right Networks. Many of us accountants have been using Right Networks or at least heard of Right Networks for years. And so this is really a chance to be able to say, how do you get connected? How do you use Right Networks? And then the last part of this series is going to be next week, which is going to be some tips and troubleshooting. And so would you like to introduce yourself, Kevin?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everybody. Kevin Rusi here, Director of Sales with Right Networks. Pleasure to be here. This is my 3rd happy hour, so enjoying these. Been with the company for about 12 years and have really enjoyed watching firms transition over to the cloud and really be able to take and elevate their firm to the next level. So it's been a lot of fun, and happy to be here.
We love it that you're here.
We do.
And so then our special guests that are here, and you're really here to shed some light on what are you doing with Right Networks? How are you using it? And then you're, working with your clients and their experience and your team's experience. And so you want to go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Sure, go ahead, Laurie. You could jump in first.
Okay, I'm Lori Swartz, along with Jeff Siegel, who will introduce himself in a minute. We are Siegel Solutions. I work as the client services manager. I've been with Jeff for close to 14 years, and we've been working out with Right Networks almost since its inception, so probably 12 to 13 years. So it started when clients were all on desktop and we wanted to go more remote and have instant access to their files. And we also use it, and Jeff will talk more about it, but we also use it as our own server. So we've brought technology, or desktop technology, right up to the cloud to have seamless integration with our clients.
And I'm Jeff Siegel, as Laurie said, Siegel Solutions. And so we provide, like a lot of you, we provide outsourced accounting, both QuickBooks Desktop and online. And we're a QuickBooks solution provider, so we sell all the QuickBooks products. And we do a lot of QuickBooks consulting. So we work with a lot of those desktop clients, a lot of them on enterprise with, third-party apps, making it work, things like that. So, Murph wants to know how Laurie has put up with me for the last 13 or 14 years. So,
Murph, I'll say, when I started with Jeff, we should bring up his old picture. When I started with Jeff, he had hair.
I did.
And
Yes.
I wasn't gray.
And you did too.
And I did too. So we'll say we've put up with one another. And the good news is at 5 o'clock, we can leave one another.
Yes.
That's the end of a happy relationship. That's how that goes. Well, we're certainly glad that you're here because last week, as the people who joined us were able to ask questions, it was very, very beneficial to have your insights. So thank you for being here again to be able to answer some of those questions. So I would like to say in chat, if you would like to ask questions, just like last week, both Jeff and Lori are using Right Networks all the time. And so they probably are going to be able to answer the majority of those questions. And then we also have, backup help from Right Networks to be able to say they've got, some of the technical answers too. So I'll just go ahead and advance that slide over here to just say, let's get started. So we're going to go ahead and talk about this 3-part series. So last week was transitioning to a remote workspace. So how do you get started? It was laying that foundation really strong. This is where you get started. This is what it looks like. And then to this week is going to be all about how to optimize your workspace. So training your staff, training your clients, and then how to work day in, day out inside of the Right Networks environment. And if you missed the last week's session, you can go onto our Appy Hour website and you can find that recording. And so that way you can see moving from the office space into a remote space, what that looks like. Mm-hmm. We all love our fuzzy slippers. And so that's what we're all doing right now. We're all working from home. So I think that's me inside the house on my laptop working in my comfy clothes.
Our new graphic designer has superimposed you on the graphic there. She did a great job. I
absolutely love our new graphic designer. Okay,
she's pretty awesome.
She is. Here's our next one. This one's cute because this is optimizing your remote workspace. So everybody's got their animals. So yeah. I think I was watching the news this morning and the cat kept on walking across the desk. And it was like, we picked this first, just going to let you know. We had the cat on our image first before it happened across the news this morning. But so today we're going to be, optimizing our workspace.
We certainly are.
Yep. So going through what that looks like, we're going to do our introduction to Right Networks and then username and permissions. So what are you allowed to see inside of the Right Networks environment? What are you allowed to do? And then also talking about the training and the resources, because some people don't know exactly how to move around, and there are help articles and there's help guides inside of the Right Networks environment. So how to access some of those. And then the desktop shortcuts. So whenever you go to log in every single day, there's some tips there. And then also being able to set up the QuickBooks environment. So that's separate from your Right Networks environment. So Kevin's going to walk us through what does that user experience look like. And then other applications, so being able to connect our third parties, and then password management. Again, whenever you're talking about, you've got to log into Right Networks, so you've got a username and password, and then you've got to log into your QuickBooks, and then each of your users are going to have username and passwords for each one of those environments. So just making sure that you keep all of those straight, and as the firm that you understand that, and then you train your staff to understand that, and then that they get it and are able to train the clients. So just kind of wrapping up how to use the work environment. So I'm going to say at this point, we're going to do the introduction to Right Networks, just kind of talking about the hosting space. So there's lots of people that are using desktop. So whatever version of desktop it is that they're using, they could be using the Mac version, and that could be hosted in the Right Networks environment. They could be using Enterprise. They could be using the Contractor. They could be using Pro or Premier. Any of those versions. And then as the accountant, you can be using your accountant version and working inside of the QuickBooks desktop, their version. It turns into the, you're working in your accountant version. So being able to have really good collaboration with your client inside of the Right Networks environment. And then I'm going to say at this point, Kevin, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Sure, yeah.
So I'm going to say I'm going to stop sharing. And then that way you can start sharing if you want to. So that way you have mouse control.
Cool. Thanks, Liz. So, yeah, I mean, typically, guys, for those that were on last week or don't know enough about us, we are QuickBooks Desktop hosting provider. We find a home for those QuickBooks Desktop clients that you guys are struggling to access on a regular basis or struggling to be efficient with. You have QBO clients that you can get to in real time. You have Xero clients you can get to in real time, and some of these other web-based accounting applications. But those desktop clients are always kind of a struggle moving into kind of this new world and new realm where we want to be able to have real-time access to people's files. So that's essentially exactly what we do. It's all delivered via basically a Windows hosted desktop environment. So essentially it's like a PC in the cloud where you're renting server space from us overall, where you log in and you run all your business critical applications right from your hosted desktop. within our environment. And then from that point on, we're managing the software, we're backing it all up for you, and you don't have to worry about things really being stored locally in terms of QuickBooks and our client kind of documents that you're accessing within our systems there. It's not just QuickBooks. We host over 300 third-party applications on the environment as well. So those are like your Bill.coms that integrate with QuickBooks, or your WebGilities of the world, Transaction Pro Importer. There's a whole slew of applications that really we built out by customer demand. So people asking for third-party apps to integrate with QuickBooks just to get more out of their hosted environment and make sure it's going to fit all their workflow needs. Something we specialize in building over the years that led us to have over 300 now. And then we also host standard products like the Office Suite, Microsoft Excel, Word, PowerPoint. Again, business critical applications that'll sit alongside QuickBooks and allow you to kind of get your job done on a regular basis and not have to navigate outside of the hosted environment to export, a file to Excel from your QuickBooks and things of that nature. And then last but not least, world-class US-based support, 24/7 support. Those guys are great. You can get them at any point in time, and they're all located right here in New Hampshire at Hudson kind of corporate office there, or right now actually all individual houses, but are online all the time and readily available to help out there. So usernames and permissions, when we talked last week, we talked about getting started with Bright Networks, getting your feet in the door, and really creating your organization and how to start creating your client level organizations and start utilizing the service. Today, we're going to take a peek kind of deeper under the hood and kind of do a little bit of nitty-gritty on usernames, permissions, what those mean, the different roles that folks can have in firm. So going to get pretty detailed here, so stay with me, but any questions like that, just let me know. Usernames and user permissions. So here's kind of a screenshot of all the user role overviews you can have here. And I joked about it before I came on with Jeff. I said, Jeff, what we're talking about today is kind of the complicated setup we have for all the roles and all the users. But a lot of these are absolutely necessary. And especially when you're working within a firm, you need to know who can do what, who can what, permissions, and that aspect of utilizing your subscription with us and really managing your overall subscription is very important. So I'm going to run through each one real quick, and then as we go through the rest of the slides, you're going to be looking at what these users can do in the specific kind of area that I'm referencing. So first but foremost is really the account owner, right? They have all My Account privileges, and My Account is our management portal that you guys will see on the following slide here that shows how to add users, how to add licenses, how to add package, and really just, again, manage everything that you have with Right Network. So that's the person that establishes the account, and here on forward, you can see they're going to be able to access and pretty much do anything underneath their subscription. The account admin is really everything that the account owner is, except they do not have authority to absolutely close out the subscription. So they can't cancel the overall service. But if I'm the account owner and I'm giving account admin access to Jeff, I'm trusting Jeff with everything else under the sun. So he can add users, he can delete users, he can add apps, he can add licenses. He's definitely an administrative role. He just can't cancel the subscription overall. The next one up is the billing admin. And this is someone that within a firm or within an organization, if you want to really just handle all the billing aspects of your account with us, so, really taking a look at invoices on a regular basis, detailed billing reports, figuring out a solid way to bill clients that you might have underneath the system that we're billing you on a regular basis. So again, everything under the billing umbrella, the billing admin owns, but they are not associated with anything from a user management perspective. So they're not resetting people's passwords, they're not changing roles of different users, they're not adding new roles to people. So any of the user management stuff is removed from the billing app, and they're strictly focused on billing throughout the process. Similar to Support Contact, they do not touch any of the billing aspects of it, and they're there as someone that can assist in any user management and contact our support staff on their behalf, right? So support contacts don't have to have a package. I'll do a little rehash on packages because we talked about it last week, but they don't need to have a hosted desktop. They don't need to be accessing critical or any applications or system. They can just be a sole user on My Account that can call on behalf of people, get support, and or adjust any of the user management settings and help with getting accounts set up and that good stuff. So again, that could be a specific role for somebody as well. The last two, I think, it would be easier to think about these folks as users within the firm that don't really need a lot of access to anything else in terms of managing the subscription, and or clients that you're managing the billing for. So they're users, they just log in. The user catalog one, I'll get into a little bit more detail later, but they have the ability to install applications that they're entitled to under their hosted package. So if they're in a certain package and Excel is included with that package and they haven't deployed it yet to their desktop, they're able to navigate and do that and deploy the application right onto their desktop. The users with no catalog are strictly the login and whatever the other roles have set for you to access in terms of applications. That's all you can access. You can't install things. You really just log in and get your work done. So again, you can think of the top four as primarily probably firm users and roles, and then the bottom two as some firm users and mostly clients. And to be clear, not every firm has to set up specific set of people in these roles. We just wanted to supply them in the case that people did want to break out certain roles and what people can have access to. Jeff, do you have somebody in your organization that fills every single one of these roles? Do you know from us?
For the most part, we have, Kristen, who's our kind of office person who does all the setups for most of our clients. She does the account admin for almost everything. Actually, I'm the account owner, I think, on almost all my clients. So they can't, if any major change happens, I get an email from Right Networks approving it, asking me to approve it. So a lot of our regular team, the bookkeepers are all basically users. So they really don't have a lot of, ability to make changes. So,
cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
So diving a little bit into each aspect of what is available for folks to do within the system, package management. If
Kevin,
can
you blow that up because it's not full screen, the slide?
Oh, it's not. Hang on.
Thing keeps going off.
Still not full screen for you guys?
I think you've got it in. You've got the speaker notes side open. Do you have two monitors?
I do. What did I do?
Yeah, I think you showed
display
the
settings. There you go. Swap.
Yeah.
And then your mic is breaking. Oh, perfect. And then your mic is breaking up just a little bit. Is that? I mean, do you want to call in or is it okay to everybody?
What do you guys think?
It's gotten better,
Okay.
and it's not terrible, but it's a little garbly.
Yeah.
All right, let me know if I have to call in. I will.
Okay.
Not a problem though. I'm sure my kids are probably streaming something downstairs. That's messing with the connection. But let me know. In terms of package management, guys. So when I talked last week, I talked about specific packages that are assigned to users that allow folks to access the hosted desktop with all their applications on there, right? So packages will be assigned to a user, and then that gives the user kind of the ability to get into the hosted environment, run QuickBooks, and run any other third-party applications that they'll have from us there as well too. So when you look at package management, again, the account owner, like Jeff, can do everything on his account. There's nothing he can't do. He can view users' packages, he can assign and remove packages for himself. He can assign and remove packages for other users and or purchase and drop packages. That's a changeable, billable event. So we need to be able to people have the right permissions to do that stuff and make sure that anyone that can affect the bill, isn't affecting the bill and are in the right role. And then installing applications on others. That's really something that you want to make sure you give the right folks the ability to deploy applications on other users and not have them deploy applications that clients don't have access to or don't have a license to. It can cause a lot of confusion in that aspect of things. So you just want to make sure you avoid that there. So again, first 3 or 4-ish, you're thinking firm users. And then the last 2 to the right-hand side, you're thinking firm users without a lot of power, that don't need a lot of power, and or regular client users that don't need to specifically have to change anything, right? So when you go to the account admin, they can, again, do everything the account owner can do. Billing admin can, again, do everything that the last 2 could do. And the support contact starts to get removed from assigning and removing packages and purchase and drop packages. Again, they're there to help user management and contact support on users' behalf. They don't really have to manage packages or drop and add anything there. The last two users are, again, don't have access to really anything from a package management perspective. Oops. How's the mic? Am I doing all right?
Yeah, you're doing great. Sounds
All right,
much
cool.
better.
All right, good. So from a license management perspective, guys, this is QuickBooks licensing, right? So when you think about hosting with us and managing your firm with us, you have users, you have packages. I'll get into it a little bit later, but you have RightNetworks users, and then you have QuickBooks users, and then you have the license management piece that's associated with each user that access our environment, right? So you kind of want to make sure that you have the ability to deploy the right licenses and make sure that those right licenses within your license pool are assigned to the correct users. Therefore, Jeff's running under his firm license, his client's running under their license that they've supplied. If it's a multi-user license, you're deploying across the right users. So again,
okay. Kevin, wait. I'm not sure why you asked how you were doing, because that jinxed it.
Oh no! All right, should I call in? Maybe I'll just call in.
Because it was great until you said that. I don't know what to say.
So while we're waiting for Kevin to call in, I have a couple of questions for Jeff and Lori. You know, now that you guys, we talked about this a couple times now. We've been together a lot recently. But you guys have been using RightNetworks in your firm for, was it 10 years, Jeff?
Oh, it's longer than that. It's probably
Longer
more
than
like
that?
12 or 13. I think we started in
Yeah,
2005 or something. Yeah, or
Before
6.
Kevin.
So
It was
you guys
before
were
Kevin.
completely positioned and ready for something like what's happened, you know, with this COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah.
Like you guys were able to easily transition into this, right?
Yeah, we have probably 150 clients on RightNetworks, and so we had like probably less than 7 that were still like local that we go out to that just has resisted this process. RightNetworks is kind of like getting them. We're getting them on that last bit, but yeah, no, we were positioned perfectly.
And how are your clients doing?
They don't know change.
Sorry, Laurie?
I was going to say, in terms of our work and what we're doing for them, they're not noticing. We're actually more accessible now because we're in one place.
Right.
Yeah.
And how are they doing as far as, I mean, because your clients too, they've been using RightNetworks for their internal accounting, right? Their internal accounting department. So that's business. That must be business as usual for your clients too, right?
It is, and we've gotten some new clients that were, you know, on enterprise, and they went hosting recently because of what happened with this, what's going on now. So we're also, like I mentioned earlier, a reseller, QuickBooks solution provider. So they came to us not to buy the product, but to move them to hosting. So we did that in the course of 2 days, less than 2 days, day and a half, to provision everything, get the file up there, get all the usernames out there. They connect the T-sheets to it. I don't know if there was another app, but yeah, got it all. Oh, we had to bring all the attachments up, right? Because a lot of our clients use the attachment feature on the desktop, right? So all those we could get up to RightNetworks also. So there's a tool that people have seen probably where you could relink attachments.
Yep.
And so that was a whole process. It was done in less than 2 days.
I was going to say less than a day.
Was it less than? Yeah, it was
From
fast.
The time that Intuit set up their hosted environment with RightNetworks, the call with Jeff and I to do it, and it was a Zoom meeting that we did. It was a 2-hour meeting.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Up and running.
So we haven't been impacted much by this.
Right.
Nice.
That's fantastic. Kevin, how are you doing?
He wants to know, can you promote him to a panelist?
Is he not in as a panelist?
He in, but it's saying that he's in as an attendee, so he must be promoted.
Let's see. I was having trouble doing that. And for you. I don't see him in as a. Oh, is it this? It's a 603 number. That's New Hampshire area code. I've allowed you to talk.
So Heather, also we were positioned because of all our team. The whole team is remote, and we could all talk to each other and share files and everything all in the Right Networks environment, because we use that as our own server also. So it's kind of twofold.
That's awesome. Kevin,
Yeah.
can you try and say something?
He's muted.
Muted.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
All right, you've got to mute your computer. Now talk.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Wow. Sorry about that, guys. Whew.
No, it sounds great now, and we love what you're sharing. So it was worth the minute it took to just get resituated. So working now.
Good. Awesome. Nice. All right, let me start sharing again, everybody.
Thank you so much, Jeff and Lori, for sharing your story.
No problem.
No, you're welcome. We have lots of stories.
I mean, Jeff and Lori really, I mean, these guys are power users. When you think about, I don't even know how many firms we had on the system back then, Jeff. Again, you guys beat me. I came in there 12 years ago, and you guys have been on already for a couple of years. So when you think about, not to pat you guys on the back too much here, but I'd like to, when you think about folks that have utilized the cloud from an early adopting, phase, like you guys were literally on the bleeding edge there. So kudos to you guys.
Thank you.
You guys see my screen now?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And
all right, we are back. Whew. All right, so license management overall. Don't want to beat a dead horse here, but again, the QuickBooks license part of this stuff can get really critical, and if it's screwed up or not deployed correctly, it can cause a lot of issues, right? So again, you're going to see the left-hand side, the account owner, account admin, and billing admin can do everything. They can view licenses, they can add licenses, remove licenses, associate licenses. So when you add or remove licenses, again, you add them to an overall pool, and then you can kind of switch them and associate them out with specific users, and then deassociate licenses. If a staff user for Jeff was seasonal and they have now left the company or gone back to another role, he can disassociate the QuickBooks license from that user overall, and then be able to kind of manage that going forward. Whoops. Click happy. The under user management overall, so these are the individual users on an account that you can see. And again, the left-hand side, account owner, account admin can do anything, right? They can view any user's details, resetting users' passwords. It's big for us to give firms that ability. I'm sure Jeff can remember a period of time where he wasn't able to reset users' passwords. So anyone's locking them out, they're calling Jeff, Jeff's going to call us, and then we circle back with them. So it's almost like a very painful process, I think, for a period of time. So the past few years, Jeff and team has had the ability to do that for folks if they get locked out. Resending the welcome emails is really key too, right? So if somebody gets set up, they're a brand new client of Jeff's, and he fires out a welcome email to them, if they miss it or it goes into spam, that's really their ticket into utilizing our environment and getting up and running and being able to almost, activate their account with Right Network. So the ability for him to resend that to clients if it gets lost in the ether or they lost the email somehow, that's something that's very key for firms in general. Change user roles. This one's big, right? If somebody has elevated themselves in a firm and used to just manage the billing portion of their subscription with us, but now they need to become an account admin to add packages, drop users, add licenses, really give them overall access. Only the account owner and the account admin can upgrade people's ability and upgrade their roles overall there. And then the same thing, deleting users can only be done at the very highest level. You can't have somebody in a client's office or somebody be able to delete users that really shouldn't have access to. And then editing users' contact info, again, can only be done at the highest level, and adding users can also only be done at the admin level there. When you start getting into billing and invoice management, this really gives someone the whole overview of what we're billing them for, whether it's packages, add-ons on a per client basis. It really helps frame up exactly what you subscribe to with us and exactly what we're billing you, and in turn what you might be billing your clients for the hosting services. So we talked about billing relationships last time a lot, and the place where firms and a lot of firms like Jeff are in are, we build Jeff and we build their firm as a whole, and then they turn around and build the users on a regular basis. So it's more of a, we're a value add of Jeff's offering where they can host their QuickBooks on the cloud, gain access to backups, manage software, 24/7 support, and that just comes with Jeff's overall offer because he utilizes a company called Right Networks, and then he builds out for that for individual clients. I think, Jeff, last time you said you sometimes wrap in other accounting services you do, and then some clients you just really just kind of resell our hosting services too.
Yeah, I mean, most of them we are wrapped into like other services that we do, but there are some that I think we have it on our website, but that have come to us and they just need hosting, and we'll sell them on the fact that, hey, if you're under us, if you need anything, you know, one-off project report, just help cleaning up something, we could jump in because it's, you know, it's under our kind of umbrella. So so it works great, but most of them we've got other services, and even the one-off stuff, because we have access, you know, depending on the time of the day, month, or year, I may poke myself into their QuickBooks file and then find something and just email them and say, hey, you know, I was noticing that this is, you know, uncleared from 6 months ago, or you know, just something doesn't look right. So it creates a little stickiness, just kind of being in charge of all that stuff.
Nice. And again, with real-time access to files, you know, what Jeff's talking about is being able to offer clients more value because he can get to their file on a real-time basis, similar to the QBO clients or, again, other clients that might utilize web-based services. He now has immediate access to desktop clients and can layer on additional kind of opportunities for revenue and other services he can offer the client and create more stickiness there. So that totally makes sense. So in terms of back to roles and everything, billing/invoice management can only be done by the account owner, account admin, or that subscribed billing admin, and the support contact cannot get into any kind of billing details there. This one is really management of organization going forward. So when you have our system, you've created your top level organization, then you've created sub-client organizations underneath your top level. Again, last week we talked about the parent account and then the child accounts that are set up below them. So the top firm users can have access to all of their client accounts because they have top level access, and then the individual users of every sub-client can only see their own stuff and have no knowledge of anybody else on the system there. So again, account owner can see everything. Account admin cannot cancel accounts, so they cannot end any type of sub-accounts or close accounts out. That's really the only thing they can't do. Billing administration can view things from an organization perspective, and support contacts can also call in across multiple orgs. So if you have someone in a firm that's just a support contact, they can call in on behalf of a client and they're entitled to support because they have that role. And then the last two users can't do anything in terms of kind of organizations on the system there. And then the last one, I promise, is the access management piece. So a lot of folks don't know this exists on Right Networks, and it is something that's available from a higher firm level perspective where you can create additional folders. It doesn't have to be the standard top level account that's accessing a subfolder account. You can create additional folders and then assign custom permissions to those folders, right? So for instance, if Jeff has X amount of people, let's say, 10 people accessing a specific drive on Right Networks, he can then create a separate folder and then grant folder access to only him and Lori can then, with him, be accessing that drive simultaneously, and the other firm users can't see that particular folder. So the access management, depending on how you do it, can get very customized from a firm perspective. Jeff, do you guys do any of that stuff now, or are you kind of the standard top level and then client level access?
No, we do that with a lot of the firm kind of sensitive financial data, I'll call it. So HR type stuff, or just like financials that maybe Laurie and I go over. So we have a folder that
payroll, things that we don't want other people to see, 3 of us have access to.
Yep.
Yeah. So
that makes sense. So these are firm level details that only specific firm users should have access to, and not the entire firm when you're at a top level. So I think, and I would say that use case is probably how most people utilize these access permissions. And again, the only people that can do them, as you see in this chart here, are account owners and account admins. Obviously, that's a very sensitive item because you're directing users to see different directories and folders, and you only want a few short people, short list of folks to be able to do that for you. All right, enough about the users and roles, and I think we went pretty deep there, so any questions, definitely let us know, but trying to really outline that stuff. I think when people onboard with us, we don't go into this level of detail surrounding all those roles, so hopefully that's helpful and something that people can utilize going forward when they do get set up there. But we're going to transition now into more of the training and resources side of things, the how to do stuff. Questions that we see come up from firms in a standard FAQ of, say net new, brand new Right Networks customers. How do I do this? How do I purchase add-ons? How do I purchase packages? How do I sign packages to users? So I'm going to cover all that now real quick here. And when we talk about these items, we're really talking about training in the My Account platform overall, which again is our main portal and user interface that allows firms to manage their full subscription with us. So when you're talking about purchasing or removing add-ons, I'll start there first. So two separate things that can be purchased on this specific tab. Packages are what I talked about last week, and I'll get into at the end too. But those are the packages assigned to users that allow you to access a hosted desktop and be able to access specific critical applications that you guys have deployed onto that desktop. Add-ons are additional things that can be layered in there. So whether it's Transaction Pro Importer, Exporter, Foxit is a PDF solution that we utilize. So here's kind of a snapshot. If you're in the portal and you're looking to add on specific add-ons to users, you can purchase a number of copies right from kind of the portal, and then it'll give you these add-ons that you then can assign to users. So for this particular exercise, we can pretend that I clicked on Foxit, Phantom PDF, and I added 3 copies of that Foxit PDF editor. And what that is we provide Adobe Reader, but Foxit is kind of the next level up in terms of comparable to the full Adobe suite and editing and really kind of setting up PDFs within our environment just to give folks a little bit more robust features is available there. And then it's as easy as, if you have the right role, selecting these, confirming, it'll let you know what the charges are, and then you're kind of on your way there. So it's that easy in navigating from that top level bar where you saw packages and add-ons, click on that, and then you can navigate to what packages or add-ons you're looking for. Same thing with specific packages here, right? So when you get to this view under the tab Packages and Add-ons, it's giving you almost like a summary in general of everything you've subscribed to from Right Networks at that point in time. So this particular user has, this particular firm, I should say, has 7 total seats with us. 3 are QuickBooks Desktop Cloud seats, 4 are Business Cloud seats. So again, those are the packages that reference the type of applications they can access on us. And then you have how many of those are assigned to folks, right? And then how many of those are remaining. So in the Business Cloud package, you have 4 seats associated with that package. They're assigned to 4 individuals, so you have 0 left remaining there. And when you jump down to QuickBooks Cloud, you have 3 seats that you've purchased. You've only assigned 1, so you have 2 remaining entitlements to the QuickBooks Desktop package that you can sign out to other users that have already been created or haven't been created yet or are going to be created in the future. The bottom one there is, again, back to the add-ons I showed on the last slide. This is where your Foxit Phantoms will show up and or your Transaction Pro Importer and a few other add-ons you can buy from us. And then that shows you, again, the amount of seats you have on those licenses and if they're signed or if they're remaining or not. When you want to dig into what users necessarily are assigned to what package, for instance, you have a client that you set up and you don't know if you got them on the right package, you're able to actually drill into the QuickBooks Desktop Cloud packages and show me the users, and then you can drill into a user level and say, okay, I have this William, he's been set up on the QuickBooks Desktop Cloud. Maybe I missed something and he needed a third-party app or he needed a Microsoft component that isn't available in this package. I'm either going to have to drop this package and give him a newer package that I have in Business Cloud or Application Cloud, or I can upgrade that package for him and get him to a higher level available to getting access to the right applications he needs there. A couple more just highlighting, what we provide in terms of benefits and resources, we do again offer 24/7 technical support, you know, help desk, chat. So that's chat, that's submitting a ticket, that's calling us. Huge differentiator for us, and something that really helped us scale properly was taking care of customers, keeping everybody on a month-to-month engagement with us. No one's locked into any long-term contracts, right? So we have to earn your business every month and make sure we support you guys in general and take care of folks there. In addition to having a team there to answer those calls and answer those questions from folks, we're also going to take care of the automatic software updates. So maintenance releases that come up in QuickBooks, or if you're hosting tax software, those tax tables that get updated regularly, you know, during tax season, we'll take care of all that stuff. And I think firms don't realize how much time they spend locally doing all those things now. If they have an in-house server, or if they're running their tax and accounting software on a local PC in their office, they have to maintain that software. They have to install those updates, and those can get pretty grueling after a period of time, where we're just taking care of that going forward for you. Next one up is a snapshot where we take a full backup of everything you're hosted with us. So there's multiple drives when you access our system. Users can have a personal drive where they store things that aren't shared with other users. They can also have a shared drive where they store the databases like QuickBooks that they want to collaborate with other users there. And both of those drives are backed up, and a nightly snapshot is taken every night there and held for a rolling 3-month period. So if somebody had done something to file that they didn't realize, you know, a week back and screwed something up, we can go all the way back up to what it looked like 3 months ago every night for you guys. And then obviously storage, you know, up to 50 gigs of storage you can store us. And then we store everything in the highest tier data centers in terms of security, making sure your data is safe and knowing you have peace of mind that you've stored it in the right place overall there. And again, a couple of things at the bottom there. On-the-go access. We are a remote company. Anytime, anywhere access is a huge value add for what we do. The security provides peace of mind for customers. And then really the collaboration piece, right? When Jeff can log in, see all his desktop clients, and then access the client file the same time they are from any location, that's kind of the collaboration that really drives value for firms to the hosted environment.
So Kev, one comment I have on the snapshot is I've had not necessarily some clients, but even some team members or some CPAs that have worked with me on Right Networks. They'll come through me where they'll inadvertently upgrade someone's file, like, because we have, you know, Enterprise and we have Premier and we have different, you know, years, and somebody will click, you know, a newer version, and they'll go and upgrade a client file just without even realizing it. They'll just think it's a new release, and I've had to go back to Right Network and say, can you bring back yesterday's file because, you know, it's been upgraded on us. You know, especially on Enterprise, I've noticed recently, and I'm not sure if it's a different version, but it'll say, you know, there's an update, and it'll update it without doing a backup. So that's the scary part, I suppose. So that the snapshot's great on just things like that.
Yeah, we appreciate that, Jeff. And we got it to a place, again, you probably remember way back when, where you would submit a ticket to us. It would take us kind of, not a while, but it was more of a grueling process to get you back that file. We've now created technology where basically the agents at tier 1 level, if they can verify who you are, can literally create a backup right on the phone for you and get that stored file back to you and in your hands. Because we obviously realize you guys are down at that sense. You're not going to work in the file that you need a backup of going forward and need to be up and running as fast as possible. So we kind of like to, we wanted to be able to streamline that process for firms. Good point.
Kevin, the access on the go, everyone thinks that you just access it on your computer. If you have a remote desktop mobile app on your device, I use it on my iPad. It's not ideal, but on the go, if you need to access something, you can do it. I've done it on vacation that I don't have my computer with me. Client needs something really quickly, you're able to do it. So that on the go access is not just computer, it is a mobile device.
Yeah, a tablet even. You may have to pinch it open a little bit because you may need to jump in and grab something for them or help them real quick, but it works when you need it.
Yeah, I think definitely in a pinch, and it's something that, like Lori said, ideal would be a strong word for it, right? Because you probably wouldn't want to work on that for 8 hours or so, but there is, you know, it does give you the full hosted desktop interface, right? So you can see everything, you can zoom in, it gives you all the features and functionality. Love to in the future look at installing more mobile software friendly things, maybe possibly on our servers from a QA perspective, and getting into allowing kind of like gestures and stuff like that and bringing that to the desktop products, I think would be really cool. We're not there yet, but like R&D and folks have looked into that stuff, and just to provide an overall better experience, higher element experience on those mobile devices. But yeah, it totally works now, and people do it all the time. It seems like conferences, every time we go out there. So for sure. Good transition though, because now we're actually going to get into the desktop shortcuts and how people access our environment. And really that's done by remote desktop connection. So this is a screenshot of just an RDP icon that can be saved on any local PC, on any Mac, and like Lori had mentioned, on a mobile device as well too. So remote desktop connection's been around for quite a while, and it accesses our server platform where we run Server 2016 currently now through Microsoft. And essentially what you're doing is just configuring that application with your username and password, the credentials that have been activated once you go through the welcome email. And what the welcome email will do is actually save this icon on someone's desktop to basically set them up to log into Right Networks for the first time. A lot of times we'll encourage, once folks get this set up on their actual user, on their desktop, you want to remove the old QuickBooks shortcut icon so you don't log into the file locally. We've obviously heard horror stories of people getting on Right Networks. They get their QuickBooks file up there, and then the client keeps accessing the database locally and updating the database locally. Jeff, I'm sure that's happened to you before.
A lot, yeah. Because I'd be looking at something going, "What are you talking about? That's not what I'm seeing." And you learn pretty quickly, like, but let me real quick on the shortcut. You can also open up remote desktop from any computer. You can go out. You could be off to a client, and another client gives you a call, says, "Can you look at something real quick?" You could jump on Right Networks, remote desktop, which is built into Windows, right? Put the address in and be right into your account and into their file if you need to, or from home or anywhere. Yeah.
Absolutely. And like, you don't need administrative access if you're on a Windows machine to install this software. So Jeff's right. It does give you that built-in functionality right within Windows for like the past 15 years or so, where you can actually just key in your information even on a shared computer and access securely via remote desktop connection there. And then this is just a screenshot of once you do log into it. Here's the hosted interface. And as we showed kind of last part one there, it is just a hosted desktop overall. It's essentially a virtual PC in the cloud that has access to really, again, all the business critical aspects you need, accounting software, tax software, add-ons, all that good stuff.
And it's so, if you're looking at that desktop, that's the part where my clients usually go, oh, and suddenly they go, this looks familiar. This feels like working in desktop. And they have a little bit of a sense of relief because it looks so familiar to them.
And if you have multiple screens, they could separate it if they wanted to.
Good point. So we're going to talk about that in troubleshooting and tips. So we're going to talk about how you can have multiple screens open.
Totally. And Liz, you're right. It is kind of an aha moment, right? They log in, they're like, oh, this is what accessing QuickBooks on the cloud, because they're double checking whether it is actually QBO, and we mentioned it's not. It's actually the desktop version, and you're accessing it within a hosted environment. But there is a very much like relief aha moment when you see the overall desktop, and that looks very similar, and the learning curve is not going to be changed from your local system there.
Also, Kevin, can I just add, if you go back to the desktop screen, that Right Networks help is right on that desktop. So anytime you need something from Right Networks, that green arrow, you just push it and you're going to go right to Right Networks support. So you don't have to get out of your computer. You don't have to pick up the phone. It's right there.
It's the blue icon, Laurie.
The blue?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's the blue icon.
Yeah, totally right. And we've seen a huge uptick in chat overall. I mean, originally we had kind of a handful of folks that were chat, and that department has grown tremendously. So a lot of people just hammer right through and you start, quick question, don't want to call in. It's a super efficient way to get a hold of us and quickly get answers. But again, ticket submission, chat, and phone calls, we'll accept them all for sure.
one other comment real quick. Some people will jump right to the shortcut and get on Right Networks, but they skip a step on downloading drivers so they could print and scan. So you get all these calls like, I can't print. So I'm not sure if you're going to go over that setup in another session, but that's a common problem for clients when they want to jump ahead without doing it properly.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's why the driver of a lot of our calls can be printing, because they skip. I think it's like step 2, and I do think we go over it in the third part, Jeff, is like making sure what printing and scanning does look like from our environment. And it does require third-party drivers that if you follow the welcome email, 1, 2, 3, it'll do it for you. But a lot of folks will just skip right ahead to uploading their file, and then they'll try to print a week later and call us and wonder why it's not working. So yeah, it's a good call out. It's something that I wish, to be honest, the first time you logged in, it like just automatically prompted you to install the printing software, because most people do need printing capabilities, but we understand that some don't too. Just transitioning into a thing that can be a pain point for folks as well too is the QuickBooks usernames versus the Right Networks usernames and logging into the environment. There's definitely confusion, rightfully so, because it gets a little bit confusing because you have 2 sets of credentials now. One is going to be, you know, your email address where you're logging in. So krusa@rightnetworks.com. I log into my Right Networks environment, and then I have all my QuickBooks versions and years. So if I go to drill down into an individual client, I also need to be set up with my own username and password on that client file. So again, log in with my first Right Networks username and then go ahead and access into a client's database. And that's whether they set me up as, you know, the admin on the file, or, you know, bookkeeper 1 or Kevin to log in, whatever that is. Most of the time it's not going to match the Right Networks username because it's not going to be an email address. So you just also have to manage the double kind of layer of credentials there. And that's simply done by creating, you know, users and setting up users and roles exactly as you would on a local system, but just making sure whoever's logging in from the particular Right Networks account has the right kind of you know, access to the QuickBooks file in terms of what they can do in the database and things like that. And a lot of firms set up where they have a ton of clients in there, and you know, if someone from Jeff's organization doesn't work on a particular client, they haven't created a user for that user on the actual QuickBooks file. So they might be able to see files or see additional clients because they're firm users of Jeff's, but they don't have a username and password or credentials to actually get directly into the file there. So 2 sets of credentials for the Right Networks application and the QuickBooks application to log in and access each client database there. So then this kind of gives you a nice infograph that was put together that really shows multi-user, what we're talking about here. We're talking about multi-users accessing the same company file simultaneously. You're no longer passing backups back and forth. You're not dropping off thumb drives. Your clients are coming by dropping off thumb drives or emailing things back and forth. This is a secure environment where your live QuickBooks database file sits there. And if you make a change in real time, the other user, whether it's another employee or your accountant that's logging in, can see that happen in real time. So everyone's on the same page and makes collaboration really seamless from that aspect. And then real quick, just going to walk through what it's like to set up other applications and environments. We talked a lot about QuickBooks here, obviously the main application that folks host with us, but what about those other third-party applications, those 300+ applications that can integrate with QuickBooks that I can add on to my user and onto my environment as well too. So when you go ahead and select users here from the My Account menu, you'll click on an individual user. And again, from this screen, you can actually see if they've activated, so if they've logged into their account and got started with us. And then the second one, where the X's for this account are multi-factor authentication. Have they turned on Duo? Do they require Duo access to log into the system, which is also available with any package, and folks can just turn that on if they'd like to. When you click on a user, you're going to see a couple of tabs there, and one is apps you can install. So what that means is this user has subscribed to this set of applications probably based on the package that they've subscribed to with us. Most likely in this sense, probably the Business Cloud package, which has given them access to Bill.com, Expensify, Microsoft Excel, Avalara. And from here, you can select the application and install it right on the hosted desktop, right? So you're managing from a user's perspective what apps they can utilize, what apps they can see. And in this particular instance, we selected bill.com, click install the app, and then the dashboard will be added to the end user's desktop there. When you talk about integrating some of these applications too, when we install it from the My Account perspective or a user installs it, a lot of times you have to go into the file and integrate it and have it accept that certificate that it usually does to get kind of a proper communication from the application to the QuickBooks file. Again, this is exactly what folks would do on their local system. We're just taking the installation portion out of it, and you utilize our My Account interface to install the third-party application, and then you come in here and still integrate it directly into into the company file for you. And then you accept the application, and you're good to go. Other applications, I'd be curious to see if you guys use any of these, Jeff, but QuickBooks Web Connector applications are non-applications that you have to install from our perspective. You really get a QuickBooks Web Connector file from the application vendor and run it and integrate it right within our platform without actually having to add the application. Do you guys use any software that utilizes this, Jeff, or is this kind of something that's not really in your guys' realm?
Yeah, I don't think we do anymore. Laurie, can you think of any? Because we've used Tally and Bill.com, but what else did you say, Laurie?
Cash flow tools.
Does that use the Web Connector?
I believe that one uses the Web Connector still.
I think it might. Yeah, I think it might.
QVinci?
You're right, though, Jeff. No, QVinci requires kind of a full install. So yeah, these are more of those web-based applications that run right through this integration. But a lot of companies used to utilize this and probably still do, but some have moved to a more robust kind of installation that can integrate via the certificate there. Want to keep going here. I know we're running out of time. Password management real quick. So I talked about this already a little bit, but the resetting of passwords and resetting of welcome emails, onboarding new clients can be hard, and making sure they get the new email and are ready to activate and are logging in with the right password. And instead of what happens with a lot of providers, we have to keep reaching back to support to do all these things. You can do that right within your console by resetting their passwords and resetting their activation emails to make sure they successfully get on the cloud there. And last but not least, I think I'm going to walk you guys real quick through the packages again. As we discussed last week, starting from right to left, right would be the lowest kind of package, which is just a QuickBooks desktop package, which includes the support, the backups, the security, the fully managed environment, and your hosted QuickBooks license. And then as you move upstream to Business Cloud and Application Cloud, you can see in there you get a little bit more third-party app access for popular apps and or Microsoft Excel in the Business Cloud package, and then the full Office Suite in the Application Cloud package there. I'm going to stop there for any questions overall, but I know we rushed through the end of that, but I'm sure we got some questions. So yeah, fire away.
That was fantastic, Kevin. So, I think you did a really nice job of working through, especially that beginning, whenever you're first connecting with Right Networks, understanding what user permissions are and what users have access to or not have access to. So thank you for going through that with us. And I think that Jeff and Lori have been knocking out the questions.
Love it. Awesome.
I know. We have the super guest with us, so I'm very, very thankful.
Yeah, and if anyone has any questions outside of this forum, Jeff at SiegelSolutions.com or Laurie at SiegelSolutions.com. So either one of us can answer anything privately if we don't get through it all today.
Well, thank you for that. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and say that you're invited back to our last and final session, which is going to be the part 3, troubleshooting and tips, which I would definitely say we would love to have your input on if you're available next week.
Definitely.
All right, we're so excited.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
And I'll give you back access controls, I think. Liz, do you want these back here?
If you just want to power through those last.
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
Sure.
So all I'm going to say here.
And,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Liz.
So Right Networks has offered this 20% discount to all of the Appy Hour viewers. through the end of April. All you have to do is whenever you're emailing support and getting connected for the first time or calling in is just mention the happy hour, and you'll get that 20% off. So just make sure that you get to check that out, and then go ahead and advance us to the next slide, so that way people know to visit the website and they'll be able to view that recording if they want to watch last week's episode, or if they joined us late and they want to watch this episode, the beginning of it, they're welcome to do so. And then maybe the next slide, if we want to talk about, there's the Facebook page, and so we have continued conversations there. And then if everybody's not already registered for Zoom, go ahead and make sure that you are. There's some people who are joining us via Facebook. And then here's that part 3 that we've all been waiting for. It's always the fun part to say, okay, and then you've made it to the very end where we get to do the tricky fun stuff. So next week is going to be all about the advanced tips and tricks. So same place, same time, and we want to thank Right Networks. And Kevin,
thank you so much.
Kevin.
This is
Well, thank you guys.